welcome
questions and maybe you can answer them.
Sure.
So a question is asked by Vineet. He is asking for a non-tech person without a product management background, how challenging it is to get the first break and get a decent hike.
Okay. Define non-tech. Are you like a commerce graduate or you are an engineering graduate doing marketing? What's like, who are you? Is Vinith here? Can't see on this wall.
Yeah, he's not here.
Okay, so I'm good. Okay. So I'm going to try to give you a little more generic answer then. So first of all, this whole idea of tech, non-tech is it's very blurry, right? So number one, are you a engineer? That is a broadly a technical guy, or a not an engineer. Number one, if you're not an engineer, it's a very different ball game. It's a very different discussion. I will come to that later if you are interested in knowing that. I'll talk about an engineer. So engineers, okay. So when we say technical, what really is needed or expected from a product manager is to have good analytical skills, good logical skills, good decision making, good judgment, as the core tenets. And then you, of course, certain hard skills about design, about knowledge of how technology works, etc., etc. Now, engineers are preferred usually because decision making, analytical skills, logical skills are somewhat there. I would not say all engineers have that, but it is somewhat there, or at least you can kind of attribute it to them. While the other skills like design skills and technical skills are something that you can acquire over time if you do not have it originally. Of course, there are people who do not have a bone in their body connected to design. So they just can't design, or they just can't think in terms of design, right? So those people can still become product managers, but they should not be in the consumer facing role or anywhere where design is important, right? As compared to that, there are certain other as compared to that, there are other people who are very technically sound. That is, they, for example, they were software developers or in roles where they were very deeply involved. Hi, Sonupam.
Hi, Talvinder. Hi, everyone. Good
Always
evening.
good, always good to see you.
Yeah. Same, yeah.
So on the other hand, if you're a technical, um, there are people who are software engineers or in roles which allowed them to be very heavily exposed to software and software designs, how software are built and stuff. So they're very technically inclined, in which case they are better suited for technical product manager roles. Okay. Having said that, if you are not a design guy, if you're not a technical guy, still it's perfectly okay. Because like I said, the core tenets that everybody asks, in fact, if you just do a quick Google right now and search for the questions that are typically asked in product interviews, majority of those questions, not all, but majority of the questions are logical, decision making, commonsensical. Dimag chala pa rahe ho ki nahi chala pa rahe ho? That's the question that they try to find out, right? And do you have the hunger or the curiosity or the direction mentally to to find your way through an unknown problem? That's what most people try to look for. Okay. Now, if you do have design skills, even better. But if you say that I have design skills, but I can't think that much and I can't really analyze situations, you're going to have a tough time cracking a PM interview. But the opposite is true. If you are very solid in your analytical skills, in your logical thinking and decision making, it's going to be relatively much easier for you to actually crack a job. The only trouble that you're going to face is getting yourself shortlisted without, you can imagine, right? Without getting a FaceTime with a recruiter, how exactly are you going to prove yourself that mera dimag chalta hai, right? Better than most of the people. So uske kuch techniques hain, there are certain methods through which you can you can break that vicious cycle, right? So I hope that kind of answers the question. If anybody has a follow-up question to that, please feel free. भाई मैं पैसे नहीं चार्ज करता क्वेश्चन पूछने के, पूछ लो.
Hi, Talvinder. This is Keshwa here.
Hi.
Hi. I have a similar different type of question I have in terms of leadership or in terms of growing into a bigger career ladder for the product leadership point of view. Okay. So I have been working as a product manager or a product leader kind of a thing. If I want to escalate or if I want to take an escalate to go to a product leadership kind of a thing, what are the areas that I need to focus on strategically or tactically wise to grow into the organization ladder to a leadership role?
Okay, so see, these type of questions or this type of directions become fairly easy if you start observing yourself as a as a talent product. So I'm not sure where you are currently working or what are the past experiences that you have had. Are you a technical guy? Are you a marketing guy? Or what exactly have you done, right? I'm not sure of that. But whatever that case is, for example, I'll take a random example of a QA who then became product manager, okay, in a technical company, fairly technical company making, let's say, enterprise products, B2B products. Okay. Let's say they make software for hospitals. Let's just take a call. Right now, this guy has spent like good 5 years, 8 years in various product management roles, product manager, senior product manager, etc. He has been around. And now he's trying to get to some place where he can be a VP. Right? He wants to be a VP product manager somewhere. Now, if he suddenly jumps and says that Amazon, मैं VP के लायक हूँ, मुझे ले लो, मुश्किल होगी, right? Possible, there's a good chance कि वो है, लेकिन Amazon को trust आने में time लगेगा, right? Amazon would need way more number of data points to be convinced, right? As against that, if he decides and if he chooses to go to, let's say, Salesforce and use the word Salesforce or Amazon as more like a stereotypical, as a placeholder for those kind of companies, Salesforce or similar companies would perhaps like him more because Salesforce has that DNA of enterprise, right? So they may be able to see this guy कि हाँ इसमें कुछ हो सकता है, but VP maybe not. That depends on the quality of work that the person has done, right? So broad template, if I have to give you, that would be to first identify what you have done, what kind of sectoral companies, either sector specific companies that you have been working in a particular sector, let's say education, let's say healthcare, let's say edtech or something else. So try to find the companies who are big in that sector and find if your current skill sets current skill sets are, on track to be a VP, to claim yourself to be a VP. Purely because of your pure experience and domain understanding, perhaps you'll be able to claim a VP role. That's one way. The second way is that you identify your biggest strength or biggest skill. Let's say the skill is being technically extremely sound. You're one of the few product managers who is extremely sound technical, let's say. In which case, going to companies which value that the most, which is very engineering led culture. It's a hardcore engineering led culture. वहां पे सबको इंजीनियर सोचते हैं, like the engineering manager is there, CEO भी mostly software engineer होगा तो CEO बन चुका है, and right, so it's a very engineering led mindset. So they will find you as someone of their own, as compared to a lot of product managers जिनको technically जैसे API बोलो तो ऐसे हाथ पांव फूल जाता है कि भाई ये क्या बोल रहे हो, right? As compared to that, you are able to talk to them in their own language, right? So either you go by a specific skill that you are amazing at, or you look at your past experience. अच्छा मैंने 6 साल health tech में बिता दिए, it's much easier for me to get into a health tech company as a VP. That's the way to go. Again, you can try to, if you're not able to crack a tier 1 company, try to crack a tier 2 company, try to crack a tier 3 company. So I'll give you an analogy. I believe majority of you would be engineers, and we all have gone through that shitty ordeal of getting some shitty rank and then going for क्या बोलते हैं उसको, orientation नहीं, something, right? So where we have to go to a college and then say कि okay मुझे ये seat चाहिए, and then you put up you make a list and you hand it over, and then there's a lottery about your rest of your life, right? How amazing it is, right? Counseling, yes, counseling. How amazing, right? When I look back, I just wonder कि my rest of my entire life got decided in that moment when I wrote those 3 options, right? And we don't even realize how big a decision it was, right? How we get tricked. Anyway, so typically when we select those, when we do those counseling, there are only two strategies, right? At least हमारे time पे, I'm not sure how young and old you guys are, but हमारे time पे हमारे parents के पास दो ही strategy होती थी. बेटा कंप्यूटर साइंस लेना है, राइट? भले वो मतलब कहीं पे भी हो, आसनसोल में हो, कंप्यूटर साइंस लेना है, right? So there you are focusing on that one particular degree, nothing else, right? So which is, in this analogy, it is your skill. So if you are technically very sound, you can use that and go to any technically sound company and they will like you, right? कि मुझे कंप्यूटर साइंस लेना है तो कंप्यूटर साइंस लेना है, काम खत्म. एंड दूसरा होता है आईआईटी बॉम्बे लेना है, भले उसमें तुम्हें मेटलर्जी मिल जाए, राइट? लेकिन लेना आईआईटी बॉम्बे है. So in that case, you are saying कि I am going to stick around in my sector, health tech, ed tech, whatever it is, and I'm going to try to find the tier 1 or tier 2, tier 3 company in that, but I'm going to stick around here. I'll pause here. I'll like Sonupam to add or delete anything that I've said. She made a massive move from a hardcore fintech giant to a e-commerce giant. I don't know how she did it, but she did it. So
Yeah, I think the primary reason why I did that was because I thought, okay, now it's time for me to get, expertise in a completely different area, challenge myself on different business problems, like get out of my comfort zone of knowing the financial industry fairly well into a completely, different industry. And yeah, I think
okay, I think you're back.
yeah, not sure how, but I got dropped off. Yeah. So I was just saying that in terms of how to make that shift, I completely agree with what Talvinder said initially. The crux of you cracking these PM interviews, and there are like these different formats in which you get tested. The crux is logical and structured thinking, right? Like if you're able to use basic common sense and just make sure that you're able to think, like put yourself in customer shoes and truly understand their pain points and challenges, that is half the job done, right? Obviously then what follows is, okay, what is the right execution plan, what is the right set of features, or what is the minimum set of features to launch, right? Some of those prioritization techniques, etc., will ensue. But yeah, the critical aspect, like even when I talk to people or even if I am on the interview panel, for me it is just that is there a logical and a structured thinking in place? Because sometimes that is hard to build while on the job, right? Like you would expect you would have gathered that from your educational institutes or from your previous work experience, right? And second, I would say is the attitude, right? Like the general attitude for you, the willingness to learn, the inquisitiveness to know more about customer mindset, and to know more about how the industry is overall shaping in the short term and the long term, right? So some of those attitudinal traits also become fairly important. Things like whether we'll be able to collaborate well in a team, right? Because one job of a product manager is also to influence people without authority, right? So you'll be working with so many partners, and you will have to get them all onto consensus, right? Make them believe in that vision that you have set out, or the roadmap that you have set out for that year or for the next 3 years, right? And in order for you to do that, you need to have like great collaborative and partnership skills, right? So yeah, I think some flavor of that also needs to come out as you're talking to the recruiter, to the hiring leader, or to more members in the team. Right. So yeah, I would say these are broadly the things that people would judge you on, and that you should make sure of even, touching base upon that in all your interactions, as and when you do go through the process.
I'll just add one little thing there, and I'll just elaborate on one point that Sonupam just mentioned, that being a leader, product leader, especially in a technology company, you will be the face of that company, right? And you will be the one people will be looking to for any kind of answers, right? And there's a good chance the company might also try to sell your profile, right? Now your profile in terms of what you are writing in general, or your skill set, your background, whatever it is, right? They might even put you in front of VCs, the investors, or anybody else, right? So just think about it when you're reaching out to a company. That are you the one who can really front face Whether you like talking or not, it might not look like, but I hate talking. Priyanka knows this decently well. But if you are the face, you are the face. You're the one who has to talk to everyone else, and you have to make sure that everybody is talking to everybody else, right? And that's an added. So if you are in the same DNA of the company, you will realize that you are comfortable. You would like to be the face of that company versus if you do not fit in there very well, and it's not too hard to figure out. I think आप लोग खुद सोच सकते हो अगर आपके पास मौका लगेगा. If you look for the different unicorns, if you get an option, I'm sure each one of you will have certain top 3, top 2, or maybe top 5 companies you would like to land in, right? And then you can अब देखना जब बात करना शुरू करो समझ में आ जाएगा कि इसमें नहीं जा सकता मैं. There I will not take the names. I'll not take the names, but there are a bunch of companies for the life of me. I cannot go there because they're just the DNA, the way they work. It's not for me, right? So especially for the product leaders, I think it becomes all the more important, right? Okay, आप ना freshers की तरह आप hop नहीं कर सकते हो. You cannot just jump in. अच्छा मजा नहीं आया चलो 2 महीने में निकल लिए. वो नहीं कर सकते हो, right? So you have to be a little more careful there. हाँ जी, more questions.
Okay, so I'm gonna read the second question. So the question is, what frameworks are used for a product owner in building a successful MVP, 0 to 1?
How much time do I have to answer that? There are too many frameworks, man. It depends on what you're looking for. Okay, a general context here. So each one of us, depending on your nurture, your nature, your education, the exposure that you've got at your work, you would be, आपके पास एक बहुत strong gut होगा about something. That gut could be about what may work, what may not work, or it might be purely about what technology solution will work. I'm not sure if the users are going to like it or not, but technology wise ये best रहेगा, right? आपको ऐसे gut होता है, right? वो overnight नहीं आता है. It's a process over the years of learning and वगैरह. Apart from that, the frameworks that are required, that depends on where you are, where you do not have that gut feel. जहाँ पे gut feel होगा वहाँ पे आप काफी सारे frameworks को skip भी कर सकते हो, because MVP ultimately, so I'm sure you do not have time to develop anything. So you'll be running against time, so you will not have the time to actually analyze and dissect every little data point that can exist, right? So जहाँ पे gut feel नहीं काम कर रही है वहाँ के लिए आपको framework चाहिए. अब वहाँ पे it can range from how to prioritize. आपको नहीं समझ में आ रहा है, मेरे को like कंपनी में 20 लोग हैं, 20 के 20 लोग 20 requirements भेज रहे हैं, 400 requirement में कैसे develop करूँगा in one sprint? You can't do it, right? So you'll have to push back. You'll have to pick up maybe 4 of them, maybe 5 of them, right? So which 4 and which 5 gets to go through, you have to decide. And for that, you have prioritization frameworks. And there are multiple prioritization frameworks depending on what input parameters you have full confidence in. I'm not going to say you have those input parameters. You never have. कभी नहीं होगा आपके हाथ में. What you rather have is some amount of confidence कि 70% लग रहा है कि ऐसा कुछ डेटा है, ऐसा कुछ लग रहा है, but I'm fairly confident ऐसा लग रहा है. And using that, then you can pick up one of the frameworks. So for example, one of the most common, most popular 2x2 MBA वाला है impact versus effort. कितना impact मिलने वाला है, कितना effort लगने वाला है. सुनने में बहुत अच्छा लगता है, theory में बहुत अच्छा लगता है, लेकिन जब करने जाओगे, I hope everybody is comfortable with Hindi. Everybody is comfortable with Hindi. एक अंगूठा दिखा मुझे. Folks, जाग जाओ please. 2, 3. सबके अंगूठे दिखेंगे, मैं आगे बढ़ूंगा. जल्दी करो. ओके ओके. आप लोग अंगूठा खोज रहे हो क्या? कहाँ पे? There's a good chance it is hidden. Okay, ठीक है. I'm getting a lot of them. So I'd rather say, so ये भी by the way ये भी feature हो सकता है, right? Okay, instead of asking for how many of you are comfortable with Hindi, I can actually how many of you are not comfortable. Perhaps the entire poll would have closed faster. Okay, anyway, so I'll continue. So fundamentally, anyway, there are a lot of frameworks, a lot of prioritization frameworks. There are a lot of so impact versus effort. वाला तो बता रहा था impact versus effort में impact कैसे calculate करोगे आप? How do you do that? Right? For example, आपका operations वाला बंदा आया बोला कि यार मेरे तो on feet जो मेरी टीम है उसका बहुत टाइम लगता है in filling so much of form. कितना टाइम लगता है? 4 क्लिक लगते हैं. अच्छा, इसका कॉस्ट क्या है? So then it becomes an entire game to figure out what is the impact of developing something, because I'm going to employ the costliest resources of the company, which is the engineers and developers and QA and the design and everybody else to develop this feature. So it should be better worth it. लेकिन वो impact निकालना समझ में आना बहुत मुश्किल होता है, especially for quality of life improvements, right? So those improvements are not connected with a particular revenue or particular North Star metric, but they are usually connected to a quality of life. कि अच्छा लगेगा ये ऐप, लेकिन वो अच्छा कैसे डिफाइन करोगे वो नहीं पता. इट्स वेरी सिमिलर टू अभी आपने कुछ बनाया हो और सामने वाले ने बोला कि मजा नहीं आया, बस वैसे लगता है, राइट? सो एनीवे, लॉन्ग स्टोरी शॉर्ट, देयर आर टन्स ऑफ फ्रेमवर्क्स अवेलेबल. MVP बनाने के लिए आई थिंक द ओनली क्रिटिकल थिंग if you have just 1 week to develop a MVP, the only framework that you should worry about is impact versus effort, where you're simply looking at what is the least amount of work that I can do, which will give the most delight to my potential users. You don't know if they're your users because it's an MVP. So potential users के लिए what is the least amount of work that I can do? Right? So impact versus effort is my go-to thing. अगर आपके पास MVP बनाना, उसके अलावा कुछ भी करने के लिए आपके पास टाइम नहीं होगा. Sonupam? Can't hear you now. I think the audio is off. No.
Oh,
Now we can hear you.
now you can? Okay, great. Okay. Yes, I was saying that, even I agree, right? Even I like to keep it simple yet informative, right? So obviously there are a few other elaborate versions of it. For example, the RICE model, which is also trying to do something similar, but also trying to attach the confidence levels to our estimates on business impact. But yeah, typically my go-to framework is also, effort versus impact. And the reason is that you're not bringing in too many variables because, like you said, anyways, you don't have enough time to, dig deep into every aspect. But yet this framework is comprehensive enough to give you a view in terms of, what to build, right? And it also follows like the Pareto's principle, right? Like with 20% effort, how can I, have impact on the 80% of my user base, right? So yeah, agree 100% on that. But like you said, there's too many frameworks, right? And as you, read up or go through the Pragmatic course, you'll be acquainted with some of these frameworks even more. And then basis the kind of product or the industry, you may, differ from our our preferred framework as well.
Yep. I can say there's one iPhone user. iPhone. Can you please ask the question?
Yeah, hi Talvinder. Sorry, I could not rename myself. Sonupam. Yeah, Rishabh this side actually.
Hi, Rishabh.
Hi, Rishabh.
Yeah, a couple of questions, Talvinder. First part of the question is like, I'm coming from an analytics consultant background. I'm working for a tier 1 company, so I have like a 3.5 years of experience. Considering I gather the PM skills and everything. I'm not sure how easy or difficult would it be for me to transition from from an analytics consultant to a PM, considering I'm completely from a different background. And secondly, even if I transition, how easy or difficult would it be for me to get into a tier 1 technology company, considering I may not be from a tier 1 MBA college. Like it's from my experience I've seen people going into tier 1 companies big from like an IIM or something like that. So I may be wrong, but just wanted to consider these two options, like how easy or difficult would it be for transition, and then how to go into a tier 1 company from there on.
Sonupam, would you like to take that?
Yeah, sure. So to answer the first part, right, which is transition, right? If I were you, I would have done two things, right? One, try to see what are the skill sets that I've picked up from my existing, work experience, which I can directly leverage into, the new work experience or the transitioned, role, right? And then second, I would say, what is it new that I need to learn in order to be able to make a successful transition, right? To your first point, I would say if you are into analytics consulting, you already have a strong base of data analytics, right? Like you understand data well, you understand how to slice and dice the data, how to get meaningful insights, from the availability of different data sources internally as well as externally, right? And I would assume, like from a consulting background, you would have some experience in terms of, gauging expertise for some industries on which you would have done some client projects, right? And at the same time, because you have to convince external clients, you have to work with clients, etc., right? So you would have been able to build, I would say, clear and crisp communication skills, right? So these two in my mind will definitely help you to make that transition, right? On top of that, I would say what you would need to learn in order to make a strong case for yourself just to get through the door would be, just testing yourself around, I would say, developing better understanding of the overall, product development life cycle. And B, if you're particularly interested in technology firms, right, then you may also need to, in case you already have an engineering degree, then I think, you'll understand few concepts around, like Talvinder was saying, how do APIs work, so on and so forth, right? Because that will be, more likely companies are likely to deploy agile frameworks, and hence, your verbiage, right, or your day-to-day communication with the technology teams or engineering teams will involve certain concepts around, how do APIs or how do mobile apps or, web browser products, software and, hardware products overall work, right? So those could be certain new skill set or certain new nuances that you will have to learn, preferably prior, but if not, at least be able to do so on the job, right? So yeah, I think for that, then we'll have to see that, what are the sources that you could leverage best, right? Would like an external certification or course help you? Would like just getting to know, experts from the kind of companies that you may be targeting? Would some of those or combined approach in order to be able to, help you get better expertise to make that transition? The second point, I think, was, the second part of your question was around, how to crack into tier one companies, right? So yeah, I would say there could be two approaches, right? One, I feel like if you prepare well and if you make a strong case and you try to leverage your, 3.5 years of work experience and put in line that how you could leverage that to be a good fit for the upcoming role, that is going to help you do that, right? And I also believe, while tier one MBA and tier one engineering colleges definitely help, it's not the end game, right? Which is something that you realize after you graduate from IIT and IIM, right? And even in fact, like even in my organization, I feel like a lot of, people from other colleges also do an equally good job, right? It's not so much about, college tags now as much as, your willingness to learn and just, demonstrating the logical framework and mindset, right? So yeah, I don't think you should be fixated on that, but yeah, definitely there's some amount of preparation, there's some amount of learning and unlearning which needs to happen over the course for you to become, A, crack through the doors, and then B, then start, performing well on those roles. So yeah, I think tier one, yes, there will be a lot of preparation. There could also be a lot of nuanced preparation, right? Like for example, the interviews for Amazon are fairly different from interviews of, let's say, Google, right? Like Amazon hardcore will test you on its 14 principles. So the way you prepare could be different from the way, let's say, you may prepare for Google, right? So those things, yes, definitely you have to take a step back, try to get more understanding in terms of how the interview prep works, and what are they really trying to test you on. Another thing is, if I were you, I wouldn't necessarily be fixated on a tier one company, like as my first get into product management, right? I would be a little bit more open and flexible, maybe try out a few good startups, especially in India, right? Like I think, and, given your 3.5 years of work experience, I do think you could take that shot of first working maybe with a startup. But like Talvinder said, obviously make sure that you resonate well with the company culture. Those are the kind of product, or that is the kind of leadership mindset that you would like to work with or get mentored from. So those things, definitely keep that in mind. But yeah, I do feel like startups will really help you pick on a lot of skills fairly early on. Also see your product in the Indian market, right? See the response to it. And then, like, yeah, having spent few years there, then obviously you can go ahead and start navigating. Like that's my personal sense. Having said that, obviously you could see what works best for you. But yeah, anyhow, I feel like preparation and leveraging your existing transferable skills, that is what is going to cut the deal for you.
Right. If I just tag along with what Sonupam said, say tier one companies, again, it's very important that when we use these terms, right, you define for yourself what tier one is for you. If tier one is the FANG or whatever the new acronym is, then I will say that's like A plus or other AP. AP is like ek ke upar, uske bhi upar ek. Tier one is a lot of companies. There are a lot of companies which are unicorns, decacorns in the country right now, for example. Those are all tier one companies. They all give you a very good pay. They give you very good global product experience, which you can use to go anywhere, right? FANG is a different beast altogether, requires a very different kind of preparation altogether, right? So first define what tier one would be for you, what an ideal situation will be. Of course, a lot of people ideal bolte jo unka aata hai Google jana hai mereko. A lot of times, just like IIT, right? So it's not necessary that you are the smartest person and you'll get into IIT. वो होता नहीं है, right? It's largely to do with you 3 घंटे में अपने दिमाग सही एक जगह रख के एग्जाम दे दिया तो आपका IIT में हो गया और आप फिर rest of things follow through, right? Interviews के साथ भी ऐसा ही कुछ होता है, right? It's hard to crack those interviews. They are difficult interviews, but long story short, I think you are analyst with a good consulting company. I think tier one consulting company, and that usually makes for a good PM, and usually you get shortlisted as well. Uske aage, like Sonupam said, keep your definition slightly broader. My recommendation would be, of course, interview सारे दो, right? अब JEE में होना है कि नहीं होना, that doesn't mean you will not give JEE. You will give JEE, right? तो interview सारे दो, full fight भी मारो, लेकिन keep a slightly broader hand. You are very young right now. 3.5 years is just starting out. So right now will be a best time to actually try out one of the startups. A lot of very, very good companies, especially now the startups quality is much, much better because the second or the third times entrepreneurs are coming in. So they are not repeating the mistakes that were done earlier. So the quality of product, quality of general workmanship is much better. I think somebody else had a hand raised. Anybody
Yeah, it
else?
was Keshav.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, my query is just want to know how to build great branded products, or what are the ways? Is there any framework or is there any process is there for building great brands? Anything in this timeline?
What do you mean by great brands?
Okay, so for example, if I'm building a feature, okay, so for example, there are big 3 or other 4 big players are in the industry. They are also offering similar kind of a feature. There will be a tendency of existing customer base will be sticking to the existing feature of that particular brand. So if my feature is more good in that one and my brand value is not that much big one, as a product manager, how I can build that particular feature in a more branded way?
Okay, so I think the word branded here is, I don't know, it's misplaced, I believe. What you're trying to figure out is, given a decent amount of competition in the market, how do I launch my feature in that dense competition and still stand out? Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, how much time do I have? This itself requires a lot. This is the crux of product management, to be very honest. How do you beat the competition, right? So, okay, let me make an attempt. See, fundamentally, there are a lot of 2x2s in the wild. Okay, so one of the 2x2s here is so on the x-axis you have user satisfaction. On the y-axis you have user demand. Okay, can you picture that? Maybe whiteboard use nahi kar sakta hu, right? So you have user satisfaction, you have user demand. Okay, so if the user demand is very high, right, it's very high, and user satisfaction is also very high with the available features, available products, you can imagine the top right quadrant will be packed. बहुत सारे features, बहुत सारे products होंगे. Demand भी high है, satisfaction भी बहुत high है, तो of course बहुत सारे अच्छे products होंगे. What is a classic example of that? Grocery shopping right now, right? बहुत solutions आपके पास. Demand भी है, continuous demand है, satisfaction भी बहुत high है. बिग बास्केट जहां नहीं मिल रहा बिग बास्केट से कर लेते, बिग बास्केट नहीं मिल रहा तो ग्रोवर से कर, ग्रोवर नहीं स्विगी में, अभी जेप्टो भी आ गया, जेप्टो भी हमारा पैसे उठा रहा है, राइट? सो दैट्स अ राइट क्वाड्रेंट. ओके, देन अगर लेफ्ट में आओगे तो यूजर डिमांड बहुत हाई है, यूजर सेटिस्फैक्शन बहुत कम है. दैट्स अ ब्यूटीफुल क्वाड्रेंट, beautiful rectangle to be in. That's a quadrant you would like to be in. User demand is very high, user satisfaction is very low. Right? नीचे आओगे इसके तो यूजर डिमांड भी कम है, सेटिस्फैक्शन भी कम है. कुछ भी मत बनाना, ना डिमांड है क्या ही पॉइंट है बनाने का, राइट? एंड इसके ब्राइट में जाओगे, यूजर डिमांड कम है, यूजर सेटिस्फैक्शन बहुत हाई है, तब भी मत बनाना. यूजर इज ऑलरेडी वेरी हैप्पी, डिमांड वैसे ही कम है, तो बनाना क्यों है? सो यू आर लेफ्ट विद ओनली वन क्वाड्रेंट where user demand is very high but satisfaction is very low. Okay, which is, for example, right now it's pretty obvious to guess which grocery companies are now jumping on कि अभी पहले क्या होता है, एक दिन बाद डिलीवरी होगी, राइट? एक दिन के बाद एक स्लॉट पे डिलीवरी होगी, राइट? वो रिड्यूस करते करते आ गया रात को करोगे सवेरे आ जाएगी, राइट? वो करते करते आ गया भाई तू बस ऑर्डर कर दे, मैं नीचे ही बैठा हूं, राइट? दे हैव लिटरली गॉट इट टू दैट लेवल. So that is why वो क्यों हो रहा है? Because while everything else is commodity, supply chain is not. Supply chain is not commodity, which is why FedEx exists, which is why DHL exists, and a lot of other companies don't exist. Supply chain is much harder. There are too many moving pieces, and to optimize it requires a lot of work, right? So वो उठा के supply chain effective होने का direct impact किस पे होता है? Delivery पे होता है, delivery time पे होता है, which is what they're trying to show off. कि hey, भी ऑर्डर तो करके देख, मैं तेरे घर के मैं भी अभी लेकर आ रहा हूँ सामान, राइट? which is why despite it the grocery space to be so cluttered, so bloody cluttered, these few companies were able to differentiate themselves by moving out of that and looking at the key problem that people have, which is immediate grocery. यार अभी याद आया धनिया नहीं है घर पे, राइट? बचपन में तो हम लोग दौड़ते थे बिकॉज मम्मी भगवा देगी, लेकिन अभी हम लोग in a different button दबाओ 8-10 मिनट में आपको धनिया आ जाएगा, right? So that's the differentiation that they are able to bring against JioMart and all the other old school brands जो कि ये सोचा ही नहीं इन्होंने, right? So this is how, I mean, just this is an illustrative example of how you can think of that one core feature that your customers really care about, right? If they really care about delivery speed, which is pretty obvious, then just do that and do that very well. Pick that particular feature. And just as a general rule of thumb, calculus आपने पढ़ा होगा, I believe, right? Calculus कुछ लोग के बहुत horror memories भी होंगी शायद calculus के साथ में. So calculus ने एक बहुत बढ़िया चीज सिखाई है, at least for me, and that is continuous functions, right? Step functions, continuous functions, याद होगा hopefully. So step functions होते हैं, continuous functions होते हैं. Continuous function differentiable होते हैं, step function differentiable नहीं हो पाते हर जगह पे, okay? हर जगह पे नहीं हो पाते. So in general, the rule of thumb of technology is that technology tends to make everything a continuous function. So it tries to reduce, makes it much more differentiable. So what used to take a step function of एक दिन बाद आएगा, 2 दिन बाद आएगा, वहां से हम लोग अभी इस स्पीड पे ले आए हैं. Similarly, पहले communication used to be one off, right? You create an email, the email reaches the other person then replies back and so on. करते now it's real time, correct? So everything eventually becomes a continuous function. Yeah, I'll pause here. Sonupam, if you want to add anything.
I think you covered everything, including calculus.
Okay, Vishal.
Hi, Talvinder. Hi, everyone. Am I audible? I hope. Okay, all right. Okay, so my current role is into the business analyst role, and I majorly work on the how part of building the products. What I want to understand is when I try to transition into a PM role, or maybe I successfully transition into a PM role, do I completely detach myself from the how part and focus only on the what and the why part? Or maybe when I transition to PM role, it still be a part of my roles and responsibilities, but there is a very less proportion of that particular area.
Okay. I'll give a very short and quick answer. Baki, I'll let Sonupam cover. See, very simply put, you will be expected to give a very solid answer of why and what all the time, and how sometime. Although even if you give that how answer, don't expect others to actually take it. Okay. So majority of the companies would not want you to get involved in how. Okay. Although if you do get involved, it's on your own. It's like an audit course that you've taken in a college. Nobody wants you there, but you want to be there. Sonupam?
Yeah, agree. And, like Talvinder said, why, truly becomes really important, because you have to treat, time and your, engineering resources as being really scarce. So you want to make sure that you are, building something, that provides instant value to your users, right? So why you want to build something and what is it that you want to build will definitely become a lot more important. And if you do that well, then only you'll be able to see the impact of the incremental, feature or the incremental product that you're shipping out in the market, right? And I would say that this is something that, you should focus on even in your interviews, right? Like typically, even if someone asks you like a design interview question that, okay, design X for Y, I've typically seen, people jump directly to, how will they build it, and not so much in terms of, why does something need to be built, or what value add will each incremental feature have, and hence come to a conclusion, right? They'll quickly jump to the how part, right? And that also then becomes like a red sign, right? So yeah, the why part is what you have to focus on more, and for that, use your gut feeling, talk to your end customers, leverage the data that is available to you, right? Make sure that the entire story is more coherent. And yeah, then I think the other pieces will follow, and you will also have like other partners and other team members helping you out with those things. But this is like solely your ownership and your responsibility, the why part of it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
वैसे आपको वाई के मिलने वाले हैं। तो पैसे आपको वाई के मिलने वाले हैं, बाकी आपके ऊपर, बाकी कुछ होता है।
Talvinder.
Yes.
This is Dr. Satish.
हाँ जी sir.
Sir, 5 people in this list came because of me. Okay.
Thank you.
In this list. Okay. The thing is, they want to understand they are from different backgrounds.
Okay.
They want to understand how they can crack the PM roles.
Okay.
Maybe can you throw some light on that? Because I have confidence, I know what you are.
So if you
and I know about Sonupam Kaur as well, and I know about Pragmatic as well. The thing is, these people don't know this, so just requesting you to throw some light on that.
Okay. If you can point out at the people who have joined, and if they can share some background about their career, what they've done, that will.
These are project managers.
Okay.
Around 15 years of experience. Don't know about product management, anything else.
Got it. Third longish answer hoga. Let me try to make an effort. See, project managers usually focus on how exactly. I think it's a good segue to what Vishal just mentioned, right? So project managers usually worry about the how part, right? There's a project and you have to execute it in the best way possible. Usually the upstream part of it, which is the strategy as to why this project came in and why should we do this and why should we try something else, that usually is out of scope. You may not ask those questions or you may not get those questions, but usually it is out of scope because maybe the project has been assigned by a client. So now you cannot go back to the client and say, "Tu gadha hai, tu ye bol raha hai." ऐसा नहीं, ऐसा करना चाहिए. there's a good chance you do not have the scope or the option of talking to the client and giving them a different advice. You may even lose the project, and which basically means you lose the job. Product management is much more about the why part. So agar apne how अच्छे से कर रखा है अभी तक, then it's actually advisable to go upstream and start worrying about the why and what. That why are we working on this project only and not on any other project, and that too in this particular contours or this particular constraints that have been given to us. ये project इतने time में बनना चाहिए, इतना ही खर्चा होना चाहिए, right? ये जो input parameters आपको मिले हैं, which is the time, the budget, whatever other technical specifications that you got, right? वो किसने दिया? वो typically product manager देता है, right? और product team जो होती है वो देती है कि यही होना चाहिए. The CEO or the management usually relies on the product team to figure this contours out, and then the project gets shipped out, right? This is what I have done for the last decade or more. This is what Sonupam has done in her various companies, right? She would figure out the input parameters that would then go to the product owner if there was a product owner at Amex, or मेरे पास कभी product owner नहीं था. So then you work with the developers and everybody to get that project executed, right? But the focus always used to be on the why and the what part. क्यों बना रहे हैं और अब क्या बना रहे हैं. Then वो कैसे बनना चाहिए, that is usually used to get taken care by somebody else. Sonupam, if you would like to add.
Yeah, I would agree to that. And yeah, I think this is like going back to what we were answering to Vishal also, that, you know, you will be tested and questioned multiple times from both your senior leadership as well as from your stakeholders, that, you know, why are we doing this? Why this and why not that, right? And you may actually get, you know, directions from multiple people, right? Whether it's your end users, whether it's your leadership, right? Okay, no, build this or do that. But at the end of the day, you will have to, you know, take a call in terms of what needs to be built out and when. And B, you will also need some concrete justification, either through numbers or through storytelling or through your gut, in terms of, you know, why have you prioritized one over the other, right? So yeah, I think having, you know, really good skills around those, right, and leveraging partnership would be, you know, imperative to make sure that, you know, you're able to convince all the stakeholders in terms of why we are building this, right? Sometimes you use data for that. In some cases, if you don't have access or luxury of data, then obviously you have to do, you know, have to leverage on things like storytelling, user experience, or like Talvinder said in the beginning, you know, a lot of times even gut, you know, when you're trying to build, you know, something completely new, something completely out of the box.
And अगर ये बहुत ज़्यादा hard लग रहा है कि यार ये क्यों करना चाहिए, I think fundamentally, I think all of us, what we desire and aspire for in our career is one, validation, two, respect, three, good money, right? That's what we look for, right? At कहीं भी काम करेंगे, इज्जत मिले, नाम हो जाए और पैसे भी बन जाए. अगर ये तीन चीजें मिल रही हैं तो that's perfect state to be in, right? And I believe product management is that one amazing role that allows you to have all of it. Given the quality of work, given the quality as well as the importance of your work, because आप almost upstream पे हो, right? अब एकदम upstream पे हो. CEO के बाद CEO, the product team usually reports only to the CEO or the CEO's office, right? The management office doesn't report to anybody, not even the CTO, by the way. कहीं अगर CTO को respond कर रही है तो उस company में मत जाना. So you're literally starting from आप एकदम गंगोत्री में बैठे हो, and then you're figuring out जो आप कर रहे हो that has ripple effect on the rest of the company, right? Ops gets impacted, marketing gets impacted, sales get impacted, everything gets impacted, right? So owing to this seriousness of this role, it basically means you also get to make a lot of money, right? And you get disproportionate amount of money. What I mean by that is your years of experience is not directly proportional to the salary you're going to make. If you've done incredible work, you'll get incredible salaries. I know people with 3 years or 4 years of experience making 50-60 lakhs right now, right? And even more. So it's a disproportionate skill wali kahani. Okay, that's number one. Number two, about name and respect. Again, product managers are expected to be the people who will have answers to most of the problems, if not all. And people expect Rest of the company will keep coming back to you with all of their problems, literally all of their problems, right? And they expect you to guide them, give them answers, give them support, give them everything else. So respect comes naturally, assuming you are able to give them decent answers, right? Respect है भाई, तो earn तो करना पड़ेगा, ठीक है? Just because you're product manager सब आपको इज्जत करेंगे वो नहीं होगा. You of course have to earn that respect, but you get a chance to earn that respect. A lot of people don't even get a chance to earn their respect, unfortunately. A lot of other roles, for example, right? And as regard to the name, if you ship good products, name तो होगा ही होगा, option नहीं है, doubt ही नहीं है, right? So that way, if you combine these three, this is the only role that allows you to get all the three things together. Yeah. So, which is why I think if you have already done project management for so many years, moving upstream and getting to the why, I think is a good natural move to make.
Thank you, Talvinder.
Thank you.
One more question, why PL? People ask me the question, how will, I know I told them how will you groom? Okay. It is not a marketing, I'm not doing the marketing, but people ask me since they relied on me, they're asking me like, why PL? Why not others?
Okay. Why not PL? See, as a philosophy, as our DNA, we have never done any marketing per se, like the kind of marketing that is prevalent right now. We have not done that. We have not done any PR. We have not done any of those typical things that people do. What we have rather focused right from day one is to build a program and build a stack around it, which ensures that people get placed, right? Which ensures that people get the right support for their careers. That's what we have done throughout, which is why when we come, which is why every single piece of this puzzle has been very carefully and very honestly placed together. For instance, let's start with mentors, right? We don't work with anybody who has less than 8 years of product experience. And in India, that's a huge deal. India में 8 साल पहले लोगों को product का नाम भी पता नहीं था, product क्या होता है, right? So it's very hard to find in the first place such product managers who have 8 years or plus of experience. Why is this needed? This is needed because we are trying to build product leaders, okay, not just product managers. So only those people who have seen 2 or 3 cycles of product career will be able to groom you. जो अभी पैदा होकर निकला है, career बनाया, product manager बना है, जिसने अभी just पहला feature भी शायद launch नहीं किया होगा, 1 साल 2 साल का product experience होगा, जिसमें और 1 साल 2 साल का product experience typically क्या होता है कि the VP or the SPM, senior product manager, would be the one thinking, and the junior product manager is the one implementing, right? वो दिमाग लगा रहा होगा लेकिन उतना नहीं लगा रहा होगा, right? So which is why we work with only senior, super senior mentors, 8+ years of experience. Secondly, because of our singular focus on placements, we have designed the program. In fact, we are the first ones to create this entire focus on case studies. Okay. In fact, हमारे program में 15 case studies थी right in the beginning. I think now it has increased to about 30, 35, I think. 35 case studies हैं. At that time, the only program that existed otherwise was Upgrad ka. And Upgrad had 3 case studies. After the program got out, got successful, got decent amount of popularity and वगैरह, gradually उनका भी 15 हो गया. And now if you start looking out, majority of the programs out there have 15 case studies. 15 क्यों आया किसी को नहीं पता. I can give you the reason for 15 cases. क्यों चाहिए थे? Right? 15 क्यों चाहिए थे? 12 क्यों नहीं चाहिए थे? I can give you the reason. I really doubt if they have the reason, because majority of them copied what we did and how we prepared the entire program. That's number 2. Number 3, because of all of this, after running 10 cohorts, we launched the pay after placement program. Now, pay after placement is relatively easy to run in a quantitatively assessed roles like coding. In coding, I have to assess somebody's ability. I can give them a test, and there are plenty of tools available to exactly see कि आप किस category में fall करते हो, right? And so if I can place you, I cannot place you in a lot of these factors, right? So it's very quantitatively assessed. It can be very quantitatively assessed. While product management is cannot be quantitatively assessed. It's by its very nature, right? So it was much harder for us to actually design something which allows us to run a pay after placement program. And mind you, all of this, we haven't done this with investors' money. Investor का पैसा हम लोग ने इस साल लिया, वो भी बहुत ही कम, right? उसका भी reason था. This is my third company, right? So I know what it takes to raise capital and then what comes along with it. I know that very well. So which is why we were very conscious of not raising capital and do all of this on our own. So pay after placement, जहाँ पे पैसे नहीं आने वाले तुरंत, बाद में पैसे आएंगे, and आप bootstrapped हो. It's not easy, right? But we wanted to do this in this particular manner because we were very confident of the quality of the program that we have and the placements that we can provide, number one. And number two, we wanted to avoid the growth at any cost wala mindset, in which case we will end up compromising on the core tenets of placement. Most likely the investors are going to push us कि भाई तुम बस certificate भेज दो यार, क्या फर्क पड़ता है. That's actually the words from some of the investors that I met in the past, right? Certificate भेज दो, मतलब बिक रहा है ना, तो तुम्हें क्या प्रॉब्लम है, तुम्हें क्यों in the nicest way हरिश्चंद्र बनना है, right? मुझे नहीं बनना है, I'm not saying मुझे वो बनना है, but what I definitely want is avoid the things जो मुझे बताई गई होती पहले 20 साल पहले, 10 साल पहले, मैं चाहता हूँ कि बस वही आगे बता दो, right? And that's the entire intent of running this, which is why we still till date we do not partner with any colleges. We do not want to be the certificate vending machine of some other college. We have our own stack of mentors, we have our own stack of software, we have our own stack of material. We'll rather work with you and improve than actually be a certificate vending machine. जिसका फायदा नहीं है, कोई भी, nobody is going to hire you because you have a certificate of somebody. वो टाइम गया, बहुत पहले चला गया, वो realization अभी जाके लोगों को आ रही है. So all in all, I think these are the reasons why we exist, and we have consistently proven on all of these tenets. We have been able to place students not just from engineering backgrounds, but from non-engineering backgrounds also, with incredible hikes that even I didn't anticipate, right? People with 6 lakhs or 5 lakh salary jumping to 27 lakhs, 15 lakh से 35 lakh, 15 से 20 भी हुआ, लेकिन that person became a senior product manager in a very high profile company. So he was happy there, right? So we have seen a lot of these changes happening. So I guess these are reasons enough to believe in us. If nothing else, in any case, the pay after placement program, at least the two programs, ED and the PGD, pay after placement program of SAB. So in that case, you're not losing anything. ज्ञान कभी वेस्ट नहीं जाएगा. So I hope that answers the question. It doesn't? Yes. So where? Okay, I'm assuming here that it answers the question. Okay, iPhone या विशाल, दो हाथ दिख रहे हैं. iPhone. Rishabh.
Yeah, hi, sorry. Yeah, Talvinder, like just a follow-up question on the same thing, like you were mentioning, pay after placement or placement guarantee. Like, what if a person is like already on a good salary band, and then what's the guarantee that or what's the definite like how much hike will he already get if he's already like on a good band, and then if I'm like a transitioning from an analytics to a PM, right? My experience may not match with the experienced PM that's already existing for 3 years. So why would I be getting a good hike, because I'm already at a good pay and maybe I'm getting a placement of a lower salary, then how does that thing work there in PL?
Rishabh, we are not a hike machine. Although a lot of students do get a hike, but we are not a hike machine. Okay? People don't come. So if you're coming for hike, please be a product manager, then come to us. We will help you get the hike for sure, right? But if you're an analyst and you're coming to us, 90%, 95% of the times you have got a transition as well as a hike. Okay? Uska fundamental reason bata deta hu. At the same level of experience, a product manager is typically paid more than a BA. Okay? So if you go in a decent company which has this basic fundamentals in place of benchmarks, salary benchmarks, and etc., then even if you are, as per you, you're getting a hike, but for the company 3 साल का experience है, मुझे इतना देना है, and that because of the natural parity, natural difference between the salaries, आपको hike मिल जाती है. What will help you go further is if you can show off that you are actually far more mature and far more experienced than your work experience suggests. Okay, which is why the जो मैं 2-3 examples दिए आपको वो ऐसे ही आए हैं, right? Where they were able to demonstrate that कि मेरे पास भले 2 साल का experience on paper, but I'm actually worth 5 years of experience because of ABC, right? As regard to guarantee, the program entirely starts from the guarantee itself, right? It is pay after placement. So placement definition is not that you get a random offer and placement ho gayi hamari. That's not how it works. How it works is the placement is defined by that it is consented, that you agree to that placement, that you like that, you want to join that company, and you are accepting that offer. It's not getting an offer, it is accepting an offer. Yes. So, and I think it's fair to assume that you would want to accept an offer only when you want to join that company. I'll give an example. जब join करते वक्त ना ये सब क्वेश्चन बहुत आते हैं कि सैलरी कितनी बढ़ेगी मेरी, क्या होगा क्या नहीं होगा. Well, the reality of the fact is there's one startup who's going to give you, let's say, I don't know what your salary is, let's assume that it's 15 lakhs right now. You get 2 offers. One is this young and happening startup, but young है और happening है लेकिन कोई भरोसा नहीं है. वो बोल रहा है तू आजा, मैं तुझे 28 लाख दूंगा, ESOP भी दे दूंगा 20 लाख रुपए के, तो on paper you have 48 lakhs की salary. Amazing, right? On the other hand, you have, let's say, Walmart बोलता है मैं तुझे 22 लाख दूंगा लेकिन कोई इक्विटी कुछ नहीं मिलेगा, but Walmart बोल रहा है. And this confuses the shit out of people. अब मैं क्या करूं, right? पैसे एक जगह पेपर पे अच्छे दिख रहे हैं और एक तरफ मुझे Walmart बुला रहा है, क्या करूं, right? I'll not generalize this. People do get confused, and some take the Walmart route and some take the startup route, depending on their stage of life, depending on the responsibilities they have, depending on the risk appetite they have. ये लोग ऐसा करते हैं. The same thing is going to happen with you as well. So if you do join, I'm not sure if you've joined or not, but if you do join, then when the time comes for your placements, you will get these few options. इस तरह के आपके 3-4 options मिलेंगे आपको, right? And at that time, you will realize that salary is not the only factor that will decide the eventual placement that you're going to take. You will take salary into factor. You will take the company culture. You will take the role. Am I getting an APM? Am I getting a PM? For instance, these factors मिलके फिर जाकर आप decide करोगे, and there's a good chance you might not take the highest salary. I will give you an example. So there's this guy who came to us at 28 lakhs, 28 lakh की salary थी. He was a developer. अच्छा इंटू बन रहा था. He followed whatever I suggested, etc. He cracked, I think, 4 job offers, if I remember well. I think he cracked 4. One was Salesforce, one was this AI company I'm forgetting, and rest of the company I'm forgetting. Salesforce, yeah. Salesforce was willing to pay him 49 lakhs, and he was at 28 lakhs when he came to us. He was because he was a technically sound guy, so Salesforce को बहुत ही मजा आ गया. So 49 lakhs. There was another company which gave him about 45 or 46, and the another company 42, and then he got an offer of 35. Which are options there. He was mighty confused between the 4 because 35 जिसने offer किया था, of course, at the biggest brand. Salesforce के comparison नहीं बोलूँगा, लेकिन it was more consumer facing. So consumer facing is a little more glamorous, so people like that much more than, let's say, SAP, Salesforce, and similar companies. So 35 was being offered by a glamorous company. Let's just put it that way. 42 and 45 were interesting companies. AI company थी एक और दूसरी याद नहीं आ रहा. And 49 पे Salesforce था. 49 is such a psychological number, right? 50 लाख की सैलरी है मेरी. उसकी शादी भी नहीं हुई, तो वो तो उसमें हैप्पी हो गया था कि शादी तो हो जाएगी अब. So ultimately he didn't go for 49 lakhs. He went with 45, 46 lakhs. That's what he decided eventually. right? अब बोलोगे कि इतने सारे ऑप्शन में तो कोई दिक्कत ही नहीं है, वो आपके साथ वैसे कुछ होगा, hopefully. I hope that answers the question. I mean, it doesn't answer it directly, but that's how it happens. In a nutshell, I'll just summarize this. Most important चीज है कि the placement is decided by you. You decide which offer you take, and that is the final offer. Number one. Number two, by default, even if you do average, you should get a hike. If you do थोड़ा सा भी ऊपर, you'll get even better hike. ठीक है? But then again, guarantee किसी चीज की नहीं है. अभी ओमाइक्रॉन आ चुका है, कोई भरोसा नहीं. So, कोविड के जमाने में कोई गारंटी दे नहीं सकता किसी चीज की. But majority of the students, vast majority of the students have got a hike. So.
Yep, thank you. Thank you. That answer. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. विशाल का हाथ बहुत तेज से उठा हुआ है, दुख रहा होगा. विशाल.
No, sorry, I didn't put it down. I actually missed that icon. So no, I do not have further any questions.
Okay. Anybody else? Do we have time, Priyanka, or are we done?
Okay, Talvinder, last question from my end.
Okay.
Very fast.
There's a new somebody else asking question. Let me just get into. Praveen.
Hi, this is Praveen. Talvinder, actually, I have a question for you, and so let me just actually brief you about myself a little bit, and then probably I can just talk about my question. So I have 5 years of work ex, and it's all with like consulting. Initially, it was like consulting with consulting firms, EY, Deloitte, and then I joined Airbnb. And there I worked very closely with product managers and into the product analytics space. So it was never like end-to-end product management, but I was part of, like you already know, I mean, how product analytics team is involved in the product management life cycle and everything. So I do have that. I do not have a tech background. I do not know coding, or I do have a basic knowledge of system design and everything. Now I've done my MBA as well from SPJ in Mumbai, and now my placement has already happened with a big three. I cannot reveal the details, but that is into consulting and analytics again. But I want to move to product basically, because a lot of consulting folks are, they are feeling the burnout. They think, consulting is, I mean, it's not that gold is there. I mean, it's not that what it used to be like 5 years before or 10 years before. So everybody's moving towards product.
Yeah, बहुत पैसे नहीं बनते. I think that's what you're trying to say.
And it's a lot burnout बहुत है, like BCG में. So I feel that 1 year down the line or 2 years down the line, if I go ahead with this big three, I'll also be moving to product. So now I have a golden opportunity that before I join this company, I can transition into product. And given that I've done my MBA in information management and strategy, I do have that digital product management. I've read all about, I've done this product course as well, a small product course. Now I want to go all into product, and I have been getting offers from startups because of my relevant Airbnb experience and a little bit of consulting, analytics, workex. So now I mean, is this the right course for me to sort of make that transition 100%? Would I get that benefit? And like, what should I do at this point and at this stage? Basically, what should be my the strategy to go all into product?
Sure. Just give me a second. So Sonupam, I think you have to drop off, right?
Yes, I do have an office call, so I was hoping if I could drop off. And yeah, I think overall it was a really nice, fun session for me also to get to know you all and also learn through your questions. So yeah, I wish I could stick on more, but I do have an urgent official call. Yeah.
That's okay. Thank you so much for being here, Sonupam. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, same here. Nice talking, everyone. Bye.
So Praveen, to answer, so it's a very, very valid question that who is this program for, right? Who can benefit the most and who will benefit the least? To answer that question, Praveen, you are an engineer or not an engineer, and then you did an MBA?
Engineer. I am a BTech in computer science. Yeah.
Okay. Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3?
Tier 2.
Okay. So fundamentally, who this program is for, again, we have four programs right now. So there's PGC, postgraduate certificate in product management. We have PGD, which is diploma in product management. Then we have the executive diploma and executive certificate. Now, executive is good for somebody who is already a product manager and then trying to go up the ladder. So the executive program is meant for them. That's not your case. Your case is of a PGC or a PGD, and I'll tell you the benefit of both of them or the con of both of them. See, these programs are meant for fundamentally everybody who has been a product manager, at least till recently, has been an accidental product manager, right? Trial and error mein product manager ban gaye. Now, this approach was okay till about 2019, I would say. Okay, because there were very few product managers available in the market. So even if you're an accidental PM, it's okay. People will still say, "Chal, koi to hai, de dete hain." But in the last couple of years, especially in the last 16 months or 18 months roughly, there has been a significant uptick on the amount of investments coming in, as well as general awareness of product management as a role, as a good role to be in. So there is a decent amount of competition in the market, right? Still, the number of jobs outshine the number of people available, but still there is a competition for the top 1%, 5%, 10% companies. Usme to competition rahegi, right? Or competition ab badh chuki hai because wahan to sab log jana chahte hain. So given that, if you're an accidental PM, it is going to get harder and harder to stand out. Okay. That doesn't mean you need a course. I'm just saying that's a fact of the matter. So be aware of it. Now, there are a few ways to improve or few ways to ensure that you are being counted as the best person to hire. Of course, learn more, join the right groups, join the right communities, be on the lookout for for good sessions from good people who have actually done things, right? Not general people who have not yet seen the entire life cycle of multiple products. वो आपको ज्ञान दे रहेंगे तो आधा अधूरा ज्ञान होगा, right? This program will be very helpful. The PG certificate program will be very helpful if you are already getting a job or if you're getting offers in hand and you want to make the most of it. That is, when you land up in those jobs, you are able to crack it. You are able to prove that you are a worthy hire and you are not struggling with the basics, right? And ये मैंने काफी लोगों से सुना है कि वो join करने के बाद उनका हालत थोड़ी खराब हो जाती है because अब everybody is expecting left, right, and center कि भाई ये बना के दो, वो बना के दो, and you are lost. So if you are fairly confident that you can crack the jobs of which you are dreaming of, which you are designing for, then don't do the PG diploma program. You'll be paying extra to us. I don't mind that, but I wouldn't want that. PG certificate would be the right program for you, which will train you, prepare you. In fact, PG certificate is a program with which we started as well. That's a core program that will prepare you very well for anything that the product management role will demand from you. And it will ensure that you don't just do well, you excel at it. Okay? That's one. But let's say आपको offers तो आए, आपने interviews दिए, and you are struggling with cracking the interview. Shortlist hona was one thing. It's a good thing, but then again, cracking it is a very different ball game altogether. And product interviews are notorious to be very difficult. So if you are struggling with it, there are only two scenarios there. Scenario number one, where you're not able to crack a good product management interview is because you didn't prepare for it, right? You didn't prepare for it. You didn't practice the interview questions and stuff. That's one. This usually contributes about 20%, 25% of majority of the failures in product interviews. 70-75% is that you actually do not know the basics. You do not know the fundas. Concepts are not clear. But by the very nature of learning, you don't know what you don't know. So आपको तो लगता है कि मैंने आंसर सही दे दिया, लेकिन आपका सिलेक्शन नहीं हुआ for some reason, right? I do not know if you fall in 75% or 25%. I don't know that today, but you have to answer that for yourself. Do I need extra guidance, or do I need? I just need extra practice. A lot of people do this mistake, and I've hired a whole bunch of PMs in the past, and आज भी help करता हूँ काफी सारे अपने startup founders की, where I can clearly see that this person has muggified few books and few concepts, and उसको actual कुछ पता नहीं है, मतलब उसको वो fundamentals clear नहीं है कि क्यों हो रहा है, उसने बस रट के आके बोल रहा है मुझे, and that's pretty evident in a lot of cases. You wouldn't want to be in that situation, and that's the 75% wala case. The person believes that he's saying the right things, but they are not usually the right things. But that's something that you decide for yourself, if that is what you want to do, or that's something that where do you fall? आपको खुद का आंसर देना पड़ेगा. If you believe कि आपने अभी तरफ से सारी मेहनत कर ली लेकिन मेरा क्रैक नहीं हो रहा है, तो यूजुअली आपके फंडेस क्लियर नहीं है, कॉन्सेप्ट्स क्लियर नहीं है, and you need a structured program, which is where PL will help you. But if you're able to crack the interviews on yourself, then कोई जरूरत नहीं कुछ भी प्रोग्राम करने की. PGC फिर भी आपको हेल्प कर सकता है, but you take a call there.
So one just follow-up question. The thing is that my past is haunting me. It's like some in startups I'm able to crack these startups, like Series B, Series A, like but when it comes to my dream companies, let's say X company, Amazon, let's say, we can say, so there they check my background, they check my work ex, and they say it's all consulting, analytics. Yeah, it's a mix of both. You have done your MBA also, that's also good, but you do not have the PM experience. So my profile, they ask me to come for product analyst, senior product analyst. So they're willing to hire me for that, but not for PM. Now, so, in dream companies in my
see dream companies are dream for a reason, right?
Yeah.
राइट. सो अगर वो एक बार में मिल जाता तो फिर बात ही क्या होती. कुछ लोगों को मिल जाता है, कुछ लोगों को नहीं मिलता है, राइट?
Yeah, so now the choice is like whether I should stick with Bain or like this big four, the big three, and then do this course and then again move to a product company, or should I work for a startup, like get that PM experience?
So if you can take that hard call, my recommendation would be not to join a consulting company. You did your MBA so that you can change, right? Before MBA, you did consulting. After MBA, again, you're doing consulting. You'll make it very hard for yourself to change after that.
Yep.
Product companies have massive issues with consulting companies, services companies. Okay? For a very simple reason that the mindset is very different in a services or services or consulting company, right? It's not a product mindset. Even if you have that, it becomes very hard to shrug it off. So my strong, I mean, of course, if you are in BCG, McKinsey, वो थोड़ा सा benefit मिल जाएगा उसका आपको. उसका benefit मिल जाएगा in certain companies, but then that benefit will be with you only for strategy focused product roles. Not all the roles are strategy focused, FYI. Okay. And there will not a lot of companies who would be willing to pay you the big bucks. Okay. But that's part and parcel of making a lot of money, right? That's my recommendation, that if you can avoid it, if you can go against that thing, go against it, don't take the consulting, unless you're getting it in BCG or McKinsey or similar. They have their own value, in which case आप वो करो, उसके साथ में course कर लो, and this will prepare you to crack the job.
That's the plan I had in mind, because it's just 1 or 2 months are left before I have to join them, and I'm trying my best to get a good role at a good startup, like PM role, but it's getting difficult. So time is like looming large and deadline is looming large for this, and
why don't you do one thing? आप मुझे अलग से buzz कर दो, maybe email कर दो, ठीक है?
Yep.
give me the name of the companies that you're talking about, etc. And perhaps I'll be able to tell you ki kya karna chahiye, whether this program is actually going to help you, fit you or not. Okay.
Sure. All right, Talvinder. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ishan, I think this will be the last question as well. So Ishan.
Yeah, hi. So my query is that I have only less than 2 years of experience as a software development role. And now, because I eventually want to move into PM role, so I've given some interviews in startup and I've landed some jobs as a BA role. Okay. So now I'm like in a dilemma that should I go for this cohort or how this cohort will like eventually shape me, because I will be also joining the new job in less than 1 month. So I'm like, can you guide me on this?
So you have a BA role. You have joined the BA role or you have got the offer?
I have the offer. So I'll be joining in the next 1 month.
Achha. But why did you pick up the BA? Did you apply for PM as well?
Yes. But I was not eventually able to crack the PM roles. And
how many interviews you gave for PM?
Around like 5, 6.
Achha. And you didn't crack any of the PM roles, but one of the companies decided to give you a BA role to begin with.
Yes.
Achha. Got it. So sorry, what's the question here?
So like, should I go for this cohort because I will be joining the new company and new role, or should I wait for the another cohort and get some experience in the present role?
See, BA roles will not, I mean, okay, so BA is a good starting point to be a PM, but okay, so let me just rephrase myself. So you have 2 years of development experience. You have been a coder. Which programming language did you use?
Java.
Okay. So you have been a programmer. Now, programmer से product manager आप बन सकते हो as a technical product manager. Maybe you are applying at the wrong places, or maybe for wrong JDs. Okay. So as a software engineer, the best bet is to be a technical product manager. So go for technical companies who would appreciate your background, who would like your background. From BA to moving to product management is going to take you another 2 years, right? That's what companies typically look at BAs for. So BA, there's a good chance they might actually treat you as a product analyst, PA. And then product analyst से तुम्हें APM बनाएंगे, APM से PM बनाएंगे, तो 2-3 साल 4 साल की कहानी हो जाएगी। So मुझे ये लगता है कि 4 साल कुछ ज़्यादा है, 2 साल से 4 साल जो भी है, थोड़े ज़्यादा है for the transition, given that you just have 2 years of experience. If it was longer, I would have given a different answer, but given that just 2 साल का experience है, it makes sense to actually apply right away and jump directly into a technical product manager role than a BA role. Because then you're just elongating your जब का pit stop है ना, from अब move कर रहे हो from point A to point B, जब का pit stop है और BA का, you can avoid that. You don't have to stop there. If you can share maybe right now or over email the specific companies you interviewed at, I think I'll be able to tell you whether the issue was with the wrong companies, wrong jobs you applied to, or something else.
Sure, I'll do it.
Yeah. Okay, so I think यहाँ पे pause करते हैं, Priyanka.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Thank you so much for everybody who stayed over. Ishan, Rishabh, my iPhone बनने वाला था, sorry. Rishabh, Vishal, Abhishek, Varun, Naveen, thank you so much for sticking around, although I don't think everybody spoke. But yeah, if you have any other further questions, see the entire intent, like hopefully you must have seen by now also, that the entire intent is to help the community, help people become product managers or get better in their career. And in that process, some would choose us to work with, and we'll be happy to work with all of you. Majority of the students, vast majority of the students have not just got a hike, but also not just got a transition, but also a great hike, majority of the students. So if you are looking to join, do join. And I'm very kicked about this particular upcoming cohort because I'll be finally doing a cohort after good, I think 1 year, more than 1 year now. So I'm very excited to be back in the mentoring role. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out over email. I hope you have the emails of Priyanka and everybody else, right? आपको और guidance या कुछ और पूछना है, there is a link that Priyanka has put up on the chat. Use that and you can set up a little more detailed counseling call and we decide. Oh, one last thing. If you decide to join today, that is before 12 o'clock tonight, all you have to do is drop an email on admissions@pragmatic.io. Just drop in a confirmation with a yes, you would like to join, and we will give you an additional 10,000 off. This particular cohort is already discounted, decently discounted, but anybody who decides to join us by 12 o'clock tonight will get an additional 10,000 off, and if you join by tomorrow, you get 5,000 off. Okay, so do decide and let us know how we can help you. You can choose to not join, you can choose to enroll right now and join the January cohort also, FYI. Okay, it was great talking to all of you, although I didn't see anybody here, which I don't like. Take care, have a good night, have a good week ahead, and hopefully I see all of you in the cohort. Bye-bye.